So, as much as there's an exodus of people that are leaving the UK, everywhere you go to on social media, you see someone saying why I decided to leave the UK, why I decided to get a job elsewhere, why I decided to buy property over there, why blah, blah, blah. As much as you see a lot of that, there's also something that is not televised as much on the internet, which is the amount of people that are returning back to the UK. Why is that? We're going to go through in this video. Number one is unrealistic expectation. A lot of people think living abroad is so cheap, you can live off 50p a week. No, the reality is living abroad can be as expensive or even more expensive than living in the UK. Why is that? First of all, depending on the place that you're living in, you're not going to live like the locals. You're not going to live like the locals. Why? Because you're not a local. So you're going to go on the higher end, for example, of somewhere to live. So you're going to get a condo. And then now when you get a condo, a lot of things that you buy is going to be things that are imported into that country. So the things that you're used to, they're going to be imported into that country. Therefore, they're going to add extra prices because of the importation onto you, the consumer, which is going to make it more expensive for you. So that bar of chocolate or that Dorito or that cookie or whatever it is, that to you, just a normal snack is going to cost twice, 3 times the price of the UK. Because why? The country, whether it be Turkey or wherever it is, they had to import that product and they're going to add importation on top of it. And they're going to be thinking, okay, so this product, who's it tailored to? It's probably tailored to foreigners. What do foreigners have? A bit of money. Let's add more onto it. That's how people think. You have to understand. You have to understand the thinking of people. Next, they just don't have enough experience living abroad. It gets so much for people. They don't know how to navigate their way. They haven't made friends. They might struggle with the language. They might, have a bad experience there. All that just becomes way too much of this explore and they just go back, pack the bags up and go. They don't have a plan because they just left the UK based off emotions. Do you know what? I've had enough of this place and then leave without a plan. There is no plan. If you don't plan, how do you expect to survive anywhere? Even in the UK, you can't survive. Even though the UK, you've grown up there your entire life, you know everything, your job, your family, your friends, all, you still can't survive if you don't have a plan. What are you going to do after you leave this job? What are you going to do when the landlord makes the rent go higher this month? Blah, blah. If you don't have a plan, you will not survive anywhere. So unrealistic expectations, lack of planning, and lack of job opportunities is the next one. If you don't already have a flow of income online or anything to that extent, if you go to a new country thinking that, I'm going to start a job there and I'm going to live comfortably, you are out of your mind. Absolutely out of your mind. And this is what I mean. People are out of touch with realities. If you go to these types of countries, the job market, and that shows a lack of research, the job market is so, in terms of, especially with your salary expectations, is just borderline impossible. Impossible. If you're thinking of getting a minimum wage Western salary and expecting to get that at a normal job, in the place that you've relocated to, you are absolutely out of your mind. You're probably going to be on $2 an hour. That's probably like the local wage. And unless you live like a local, it will not work out for you. And living like a local is going to be attacked to your system. It's like getting a virus. And I'm not taking the mick. I'm not saying I'm not trying to disrespect the locals, but what I'm trying to say is your expectations will not align with that. Let's just keep it at that. And then what you have left to do? You're going to return back home to the UK. And then next is when that high, say everything goes well for you. Everything, you're getting a bit of an income, you got a job, you found a spot, you're surviving, you're enjoying, and then boom, you're there 2-3 months. Now, the excitement died down. You miss family, you're homesick. Now it's like, what the hell am I doing here by myself? And then your body's not going to be able to take it. A week later, you're going to book the next flight back home to wherever you're from. It's very important that you think about all these things. It's important that you think about all these things before making the decision of leaving so that you can make the best out of that decision and stay in that place that you want to stay in for as long as possible. And I know I said that the last point I made would be the last point. I have to add this. If you don't do your research in terms of the visa and immigration and the stays and whatnot, and then you're left with, your travel stay expired, and then you didn't even think about the visa and whatnot, and then you get yourself into trouble, and then you even get arrested or whatever, then you have no one but yourself to blame. And then once you get arrested, and then whatever happens after that, and then you're going to come back thinking, this country is this. No, there's nothing wrong with the country. It's your lack of preparation. It's your fault to take accountability. And then these people are the ones that are going to come back to the UK and be like, this is. So they're going to keep complaining about the UK, and then they're going to keep complaining about moving abroad. And then these people are just going to be just negative. Everything, they're just going to complain about everything. It's going to be those types of people where you just want to avoid, because every topic, every discussion that's brought up, they're just going to complain. So one thing I'm going to say to you is, one, try and visit the place that you want to locate to, maybe for like a month, so you get a good idea of what things are like. Second of all, make sure you plan your finances. Make sure you have at least 1 year's worth of expenses on top of your day-to-day bills and whatnot. Next, if you have a friend or anybody there or a family member, that will help. That will help with settling in, not feeling homesick. So if you have a friend, family or anything, or even a community or whatever, utilize those. Because at the end of the day, we're just animals. We like to be in groups. So if there's like expats that are near the city, or there's some sort of community, something that's going on, make sure you ingrain yourself in those, make friends, because if you're just there not, integrating into the community, then you will not last long. And yeah, guys, let me know if there's anyone that's made these mistakes, if there's anyone, any of you that are planning to move abroad. Yeah, let me know your guys' opinions. I'll catch you next time.